Welcome to Pop Monster, a podcast to feed all your pop culture cravings. My name is Sarah, a self-confessed superfan. This show will cover everything from reality TV chaos, nostalgic deep dives, and the latest in music, TV, movies, and books. So let's get into it. When it comes to Beverly Hills, there is only one white woman I trust and listen to implicitly. Sarah Michelle Gellar. She is fucking Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That show is so iconic that I'm still trying to pull off wearing a choker in my 30s in 2026. So Queen Sarah Michelle got into some hot water recently with Bravo overlord Andrew Cohen when she did a radio interview and shared that she was finding season 15 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills boring. And Buffy is telling the truth. She has never steered us wrong. Regardless, I am a sicko who has a compulsion inside me that makes it impossible for me to quit a TV show no matter how dire it has become. Everyone needs a background show to watch while they're raising their Sims. The only show I've ever put on pause is Grey's Anatomy, which I stopped watching just before the COVID season because it would have mentally destroyed me. But I will get back up to date sometime soon. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, but I have watched all 21 episodes in the season twice, watched the after show, every Watch What Happens live episode, and all of these women's Instagram stories that usually feature some terrible AI creation. And my conclusion is that a boring show on Bravo still gives me some joy in my life and makes me go smooth-brained. So I'm still excited to talk about this whole season on today's episode. Now, I've been watching the show for 15 years. These are my stories, and it can at times be a full-time job. There's a lot of content out there, and I've seen every episode of every US Real Housewives franchise. I still need to do some work on the Australian cities and Cheshire, but between the Housewives and all of the Southern, Summer House, and Vanderpump adjacent shows, I'm booked and busy. And Beverly Hills was once one of the most shining gems in the Bravo tiara. The golden years for me will always be the first 5 seasons, and these are really due a rewatch for me. I've recently started watching the classic teen drama Beverly Hills 90210 for the first time, and those early seasons of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills really encapsulate the glamour and bleak darkness of the zip code. My all-time favourite housewife in this specific franchise would be Kim Richards. She is just endlessly fascinating to me, just mixing up chicken salad with her hands, my kind of woman. And I have such a soft spot for child stars because they have lived through trauma. So I really hope that Kim is thriving and healing and things get better for her because it's not looking good currently. Since season 5, there's been a bit of a downswing, but I do feel that things started to pick up when Garcelle joined in season 10. And as a fan of her, I am feeling a void without her in the cast this season. Although she was treated horribly, so I don't blame her for wanting out. She has a lot going for her outside of the show. She has a whole career. She doesn't need this. Anyway, we still have a very full cast with 5 returning housewives and 2 new ones joining this season. There's also 3 friend-ofs, although I do think we're being generous in calling Natalie a friend-of. We're really scraping the barrel with her, and I'd rather watch Eden Sassoon again. Okay, so despite the drowsy pace of the season, there is still a fair bit to cover, and I think the easiest way to get started with that is by going through each cast member and their storylines this season. Now, I would say that a solid 40% of the cast storylines revolve around Dorit and her ongoing feud with Kyle. So they are the natural starting point, and first up, we've got our ponytail pilot, Kyle Richards. And for many years, I was one of the biggest apologists for Kyle. At least for the first 7 seasons, I was instantly drawn to her and was blinded by her budget, Temu, Demi Moore light. I like the Hilton connection, as one of the reality shows that was critical to my brain development as a youth was A Simple Life. Now, I've always been more of a Nicole Richie girl, but I'll take what I can get. Now, with season 15, Kyle is guarded and has just a sliver of a storyline outside of fighting with Dorit. And honestly, my final straw with Dorit, Erica, and Kyle was that whole situation with Erica being a piece of shit towards Garcelle's 15-year-old son, and all of their reactions to it, and how they treated Garcelle in general. So I don't think that any of this trio are winners, but in this divorce scenario, I have been firmly on Dorit's side. I'll get into it more when I start talking about Dorit, but there are a few people in the Real Housewives universe that I find more disgusting than PK. So if you're prioritizing a friendship with him and want me to feel an ounce of sympathy towards his Uncle Vernon Dursley looking ass, that's never going to happen. Goodbye, Kyle. So, when we first saw the trailer for this season, people were really hyping up her saying that she could go Brad or Angelina. And this was just too little, too late, in the words of my beloved songstress JoJo. At least 3 years too late. Especially after all the shit that she threw at my queen Denise Richards. Sidebar, but I was so happy to see Denise looking well, popping into a few of the events this season. I watched all of her Pretty Well Think show with her demon ex-husband, and I'm glad that she is free of that monster, and really appreciated her and Erica having that sit down to talk about domestic abuse. And one day I would love for Denise to be back in the show, but I think that this could be a few years off, as she's healing and has other things to prioritize right now. Anyway, this situation with Mo and Morgan, and we get to see this man a lot more this season than I ever wanted to. So he's moved into a new pussy palace that Kyle visits early on in the season. And in the after show, she says that she felt sad seeing him in that house alone because he's used to being in a big house full of people. Yeah, this woman is full of shit. We all know that every night he has a harem of 20-somethings in that house and is snorting coke off their buttholes. This man is not lonely. I get why Kyle wanted the separation. Alison Dubois was right. This man doesn't emotionally fulfill her, and I can see why she got tired of him slinging his dick around town throughout their marriage. You can see such a big change in how Kyle is processing the split between season 13, when she was in her love bubble with Morgan, and now. I did feel very bad for her when she made a visit with Maurice to see their old home that Amanda has now bastardized. Justice for those tile floors. And he may be a fantastic father, but I just don't see this man as an amazing partner. It must have been so hard for Kyle to be with him in the home that they once shared for many years with their family, and he's just so checked out when she's having this emotional moment. I think it's time for them to push forward with a separation. Divorce and a clean slate and some distance could really help Kyle out. Moving on to the Morgan situation, but it is easier to get blood from a stone than to get Kyle to really open up about this relationship. We learned that she and Morgan left things on good terms, but Kyle was in love with her, and their breakup was triggered by the public attention being too much for Morgan, especially because she's in country music. Okay, Morgan, why did you put her in your music video as a love interest then? Fuck Morgan, I'm not here for her after she agreed to be in the lineup for Kid Rock's MAGA tour. I know she pulled out after some backlash, but seriously? Now she's going to be starring in some new Yellowstone spin-off, so Morgan just couldn't be less interesting to me. In season 15, we were also tortured by having to see the planning process for her daughter Alexia's wedding. I'm being so negative today, but I can't watch these girls. They've tried to highlight them on this show, and that atrocity starring Mo on Netflix. And I think that Kyle seems like an amazing mum, and these girls adore her. That is clear to see. But I just don't think they have a future in front of a camera. The Hadids, Jenners, and Naders don't need to watch their backs. The energy couldn't be lower with them, so please get them off my television. I can't do this anymore. Ultimately, I wonder if Kyle taking a break or a step back from the show would be beneficial for her. I don't always agree with her or like her, but she has been through a lot the past few years, with her best friend's passing and the separation. I just can't decide whether being off the show would be liberating for her as an empty nester, or cause her to completely unravel. The show is just such a big part of her identity at this point, and it's especially difficult to leave reality TV. When your ex-husband is on every fucking show on Bravo, why can't we escape this man? I've never found him as attractive as everyone makes him out to be. I've always thought he was just okay. A lesser John Turturro. Like, sure, he's a stud when he's standing by the pool next to Ken Todd, if that's the comparison we want to make. But he has just got more and more pathetic over the years with the DJing and partying with young women. For me, the house husbands I consider the hottest are Gertie from Miami's husband Russell, Eddie Osefo, Seth Marks, and Apollo before all of his mess. And I have nothing further to say on this matter. Okay, I will use Mo as the bridge between these two women, and I wanted to throttle him when he had that lunch with Dorit. And I do think he has wanted to fuck her for years, but irregardless, trash men will always back up other trash men, so of course he's defending PK. And I found Maurice to be so condescending towards her. I get why Kathy hates this man. PK is in his pussy party posse, so of course he'll enable him drinking and being a general shithead. And I will not be gaslit by anyone in this show into thinking that PK is a decent father. In the after show, Kyle was criticizing Dorit's delay in telling her kids about the divorce because they need to understand why their dad isn't in the house and that he hasn't just abandoned them. I'm sorry, I do not buy that these children would have noticed his absence. I don't think he spends any time with them, so fuck off, Kyle. The man is a deadbeat to these kids and to his previous family he abandoned for Dorit. For the past couple of seasons with the divorce, I have really found myself gravitating towards Dorit's side. And I don't even think I like Dorit. She's kind of a terrible person. I guess it doesn't hurt that she's very pretty and I'm shallow as fuck. But I just can't comprehend what benefits Kyle is getting from this friendship with PK. I find both him and Maurice disgusting. Has anyone seen those pictures of PK's new girlfriend? This man has a type. They just straight up clone Tyrone. That woman is Dorit 2.0. Say what you will about Dorit, but this season I was able to tolerate her more than Kyle, Erica, and Sutton. And I wanted to stay for another season, but only if her storyline moves on from the divorce drama. I want to see this woman date. I think she has game, and I'm fascinated by her type because it can't be PK. The one thing that everyone on this show can agree on is that nobody wants to fuck him. Not even Reba, Sutton's mom. Dorit's other main storyline this season was her book, Unburdened, or should I say her book cover. Now, will I buy this book? Absolutely not, and I love a celebrity memoir. I genuinely think that the Pulitzer Prize should have gone to Jessica Simpson for her autobiography. I binge read that in a day. But as much of a Bravo fan as I am, I'm not typically interested in any of these ghost-written books. I've tried several of them and they're just not interesting. All of the juiciest parts make it to the blogs anyway, so save yourself some time. The only book I found engaging was the Heather Gay Mormon one, and that's just because I'm fascinated by that religion, by sister wives, by that show where Andrew Garfield is a detective and there's been Mormon murders. All of that. Inject it into my veins. This season, all we know about this book is the title and the cover, and that's enough for me. I prefer the fictional backstory that I have made for Dorit in my head. It's basically the plot of The Talented Mr. Ripley. Anyway, we had to listen to a lot of complaints this season about Dorit's lateness and erratic behaviour. And is production holding them back? Because I would not be waiting hours for Dorit. I find it unbelievably rude how late she is without even sending a text with an update. Are they not allowed to just go ahead and leave without her when she's this late? I have two parents who cannot timekeep. They just mosey on when they're getting ready. It takes my mom at least 10 minutes to gather her things and get out of the car. So as a result of this, I am a terminally early person because I can't continue this pattern. And I would not be tolerating Dorit's behaviour. Can't she make her own way on the trips like Lisa Hochstein did when she had to be on trains for 24 hours to get to Seville? I'm actually seeing a lot of parallels between Dorit and Lisa this season. I do really hope that Dorit doesn't end up facing criminal charges like Lisa, but their finances are a mess. Oh, I can't get into that, but sidebar, I have no clue what I would do if I came face to face with a real housewife in real life. I genuinely think I would combust. They are basically mythical creatures to me. They're my unicorns. The closest I ever got was when I went to see a taping of The Graham Norton Show, and the musical guest was Boy George. And I was searching the crowd like a Secret Service agent, trying to see any sign of PK and Dorit. Okay, let's move on to Erika Jayne. She has never been my favourite, and I actually really respect a woman who doesn't feel the need to be overly warm and comforting. I'm always worried about making sure everyone is happy, and Erika doesn't grasp the concept of empathy. That must be so liberating. But I'll always have to stand with plane crash victims and orphans, and there's something very sinister about Erika. She has a real Cruella de Vil quality. The closest I've ever come to liking her is when she turned into a drunk Rain Man at Sutton's friend's dinner party. We have seen time and time again how intelligent Erika is. And I have a lot of knowledge blind spots, but I kill it at pub quizzes. So if I had to bring one of these ladies with me for some trivia, then I'd want Erika on my team. Anyway, her worst crime is that she still has no storyline. Sorry, I'll clarify. I meant that within the confines of the show, this is her worst crime. I know she still has some major outstanding legal cases. But I don't need to see her decorating her home. She brought nothing to the plot of the season. Like, what did she even do besides get annoyed at Dorit? This is reminding me of Giselle not getting a personal clip package at the Potomac reunion. I've gotten more insights into the life of friend of Jennifer Tilly this year, so Erika needs to step it up. I don't want to hear any more about how she's a very private person. That's an admirable quality, but only for someone who's not on reality television. Honestly, I've turned even more against this woman since last reunion when she said to Garcelle that she wasn't interesting and didn't show enough of her life. Shut the fuck up, Erika. Her storyline that season was buying new pillows. Hypocrite. We didn't get to see any of her dating life the past few seasons, although I would like to know more about Armie Hammer. But now that I'm seeing this Shrek man, I say keep it. From that phone call with him, which was no longer than a minute, if that, I immediately felt a cold chill run through my body. There's a real darkness within this guy. I've already lived through Brooks on Real Housewives of Orange County. I don't want to be exposed to this cretin. I've done my time. The paparazzi picture of them was enough. Oh, there have been some rough paparazzi photos this season. Anyway, Erica met this man in London when he was backstage at the Mighty Hoopla. And I'm sorry that I didn't end up going to that. Not to see Erica, though. I wanted to see Sierra, Jade, Kesha, and the Fenga Boys. What a lineup. I'm still in two minds on whether I should go this year to see Sheena Shea and Meredith Marks perform. Sorry, I just keep getting distracted. So Erica recognized this man backstage because she'd seen him on the podcast of her friend, former Fox News anchor and full-time bigot Megyn Kelly. And I need us to stop pretending like Erica is some big liberal ally and friend to the LGBTQ plus community. Look at the company she keeps. That tells you everything you need to know. Okay, the biggest headline from their meet cute is that he was backstage because he was working security for Heidi Montag. And I will only tolerate seeing him if it means I get some Spidey. I do not need Spencer to have any kind of government position, but sure, he can do some cameos on this show. In terms of Erica dating, I had completely forgot about the Erica and Jesse Solomon rumors after BravoCon until I did my rewatch. Oh god, my worst nightmare has been realized. Imagine they teamed up to release some music together. Would anyone actually go to see her DJ? We are absolutely being bombarded by DJs across the Bravoverse. I guess nobody's watching James Kennedy anymore. But we've got Maddie from Southern Hospitality, Kyle Cook, Meredith Marks, Maurice, Patricia from Southern Charm's elderly butler, and Erica, aka DJ Pretty Mess. If I had to choose one to see with a gun to my head, I'd go Meredith Marks. I love watching her try to do things, and I heard she plays Rumours by Lindsay Lohan. That's beautiful. Oh, I did see on Watch What Happens Live that they did some poll where they asked people which Bravo DJ they'd want to see, and it was a landslide for Meredith. And, alright, moving on, and if I had to describe Sutton in one word this season, it would be lost. Maybe desperate. She is cast away like Tom Hanks and his volleyball. We have seen her lose her friendship with Garcelle. She fired Avi and has now surgically attached herself to Kyle's ass like a barnacle. So let's start with the firing of Avi, and this all seems very murky, but I truly can't think of a more soul-crushing job than working for Sutton. Can you imagine the screaming calls from her in the middle of the night if she's run out of ruby red grapefruit to glug alongside her bottle of vodka? So hopefully Avi has found a better position. In the after show, she's trying to frame it as a purely business decision, as she no longer needs an assistant due to becoming an empty nester and no longer having a storefront. What is going on with her boutique and all that sustainable fashion? Is it now just an online retailer? That's probably a good business decision. The rent on a retail space in West Hollywood must be steep. Look at all of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants shutting down. Now, with Garcelle, I think that Sutton was an anchor weighing her down. Sutton is selfish, and I will not listen to anything these women are trying to spin about Garcelle viewing her friendship as an alliance and her not treating Sutton well. She supported that woman way more than she should have and even had to deal with her, let's be honest, racist mother. I'm not surprised to see that Sutton is seeing a lot of her relationships crashing and burning. I guess we must address Reba, and I hope that all of her therapy clients are doing okay. Secretly, I hope she retires. I always hear people say that it's unfair when a therapist tries to blame all of your behaviour and issues on your parents. And we do all have to take accountability for our own actions, but I do feel like every single one of Sutton's difficulties can be traced back to Reba. That woman is a monster. What is in the water of the southern states between her, Mama D, and Dale? If I'm visiting the US anytime soon, which seems unlikely based on their current leadership, I'm refusing to cross the Mason-Dixie line. Sutton's biggest hater is Reba, and for her sake, I think we've had enough of Reba for now. So I think the Sutton storylines this season are kind of like one of those flavored seltzers. It's an essence of a flavor, but it's barely detectable. We hear about her becoming an empty nester, and it's hard to care about the storyline, especially when we see none of her home life. I couldn't pick her son out of a lineup unless they have the same skinny legs. Like, I sympathize with her. She has 3 children, so it must be hard with them leaving home, but we just don't know these people. I need more show and less tell with these women. Okay, she doesn't want to include her kids on the show, or her ex is against it. Fine, I guess, but then they can't be used for one of your primary storylines. She also shared this season on her ex-husband wanting their marriage annulled by the Catholic Church, making her Sutton Brown. And why is this the first time that we're hearing about her ex being in a relationship and wanting to marry her former bestie? This whole cast is holding so much back, and this whole situation is fucked up. Sutton had a family with this man, and now he wants to erase their marriage? Disrespectful, and this former friend is completely devoid of a conscience. Not always like the women on this show, but I will always take their side against a group of people who are much worse than them. They're piece of shit husbands, ex or otherwise. I don't need to meet Christian to know he's a dickhead. I'm trying to think of a husband I've liked in Beverly Hills. Maybe Eileen's, and I did prefer Paul to Adrian Malouf. Anyway, what are we watching with Sutton? Her calling Amanda a wimp, then nominating herself to share a room with her? Or that finale party where she's just continuing to fight with Dorit? Jesus, those two will never be friends. Dorit doesn't respect Sutton or see her as a social equal despite all her cash. And Sutton can never actually work in a relationship with Dorit because she's Kyle's lackey, and them getting along wouldn't fit in with Kyle's agenda. I kind of think it's pathetic how much of a sycophant she is to Kyle, and how desperate she is for her approval. This show is too cliquey. I would love to see more fluidity within this friend group and for people to be less of a yes man. I'm sorry, honestly, I am usually very positive about all of the Bravo shows. I've been so obsessed and loving so many of the seasons that have been airing this year. Rhode Island, Ladies of London, New Reign, Southern Hospitality. There's been so many that have been fantastic. So I'm sorry, this show does make me a bit negative. But moving on to Bose, who does have a storyline. Not all of these women can say that, but there's no making me happy. I just can't with the baby at 49 storyline. I'm going to get angry. Bose is just such an accomplished, beautiful, lovely woman, and the best that she can find is Keeley. Oh, I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't care for this man, and I really hope she doesn't go through with this marriage. Although I do think that the first wedding date is coming up pretty soon. If having a biological child is such a necessity in your life, maybe this is something he should have considered before now. And why is he choosing to be with a woman in her late 40s and pushing her to put her health at risk to have this baby? I really hope they look more into adoption or some different options. I just don't think that that can be the only solution for them. If you love someone, you would not be putting them through this. She's already dealt with so much in life. She lost a child, she lost her husband, and I just want only great things for her and her daughter, who I love. At least Keeley has some job in medical scales, so I guess he's not a total scrub or con man like PK. But I hope and pray that she gets an ironclad prenup if she goes through with this. Okay, in terms of her biggest feud this season, she was triggered, like so many of us were, by Amanda. And I hope that Bose watches the season back, reflects, and learns that she needs to care less. Also, I need her to get an MRI or stop lying about some of these conversations that she forgets. It's only making her look bad when she keeps going at Amanda for her grifting. You don't even need to do that, Bose. You're doing too much. Amanda is making herself look like a complete idiot and fraud without you lifting a finger. When the whole cast rails so hard against one person, the audience starts to gravitate towards them and feel sympathy for them. And the last person we need to be feeling sorry for is a swindler charging tens of thousands of dollars for a timeshare and bullshit. I can't stand when people say that her feud with Amanda is due to her being jealous because they are competing within the self-improvement course space and Amanda is more successful. I swear that woman is paying bots to defend her online. But speaking of someone who wouldn't pay for either hers or Bose's workshops, they are not peers. We all need to put some respect on Bose's resume. She has held C-suite positions at Netflix, Uber, Pepsi, and Apple Music. That is real-life business success. She has taught at Harvard Business School. All Amanda has achieved is having the ability to scam people through her girl bossery. And I'll give it to her, she's great at selling desperate people a dream. But these two are not in competition. I need that line of thinking to be shut down. Anyway, this season we had some very dire excuses for offense. So I would like to thank Bose for hosting that speed dating night. It was like a mini love hotel and one of my highlights of the season. In terms of the offense, the only ones that look like they'd be any fun to go to are those that are hosted by Jennifer Tilly. I'm sorry, Rachel So, but your Studio 54 birthday party looked so depressing. I'd rather go to the one for Liz's husband on Rhode Island. So that singles event, very needed because this show is turning into Roni with a number of pending divorces and newly single women. And I just loved seeing them all become fishes out of water and being so completely out of their element and having to talk to all of these men. And you would not have been able to pry me away from that man who created Comic-Con. I would have had many questions for him. But I love that for all of their money and reality fame, these women are so socially awkward. I thought it was just Sutton when we saw her previous dates, but they're all such dorks and I kind of loved it and was very impressed with the game that Dorit had. She will do well in the singles market. So with Bose, I would like to see her getting more integrated within the group. I think that she gets on well with Dorit as a colleague, but I don't know how much I buy their friendship outside of the show. And I think we will see Bose a bit more in the mix in future seasons because she's forming some closer connections with Rachel and Erica and even Kyle. All right, this year we got 2 new housewives. First up, Rachel So, who came storming in with her hot girl summer. Jesus, these women are out of touch, but she is taking Kyle's caftan crown. Although we haven't seen Kyle in a caftan in a little while. I think that was more of a staple for her before the weight loss, and now she's all in on the kimosabe cowboy hat look. Okay, back to Rachel, and I really think she's a good fit for the show. She is rich, stylish, and adds some actual legitimacy. Now, I'm quite a frugal person, so it gives me anxiety seeing some of these women live outside their means. So I feel like I can find some refuge in Rachel. She's a safe place to land and actually walks the walk. I'm not worried about her having an imminent bankruptcy. But there is a lot of talk about her becoming the new queen of the city, and there's definitely potential. But I just don't think she's enough of a lightning rod to carry this franchise. She's a lovable deadpan lady, and we know she runs at a lower energy. I think we need someone with a bit more fire to give the show a new lease of life. Now, of course, going into the season, I already knew the name Rachel So. I was a teen in the 2000s, so I remember growing up with all of the size zero craziness and all the pictures of Rachel So in her boho cheeks standing next to Nicole Richie. And there's something so watchable about this woman. Do I need to start watching the Rachel So Project? Because I have not seen a frame of that show. How many seasons is it? They're 5 pretty short seasons, so maybe I'll take that on. I would love to see more of her past and marriage, and besides Costco, my favourite shop is TK Maxx. I'm a Maxxinista and could lose hours going through all the bits and bobs, and that place is covered in some Rachel So jewellery. Maybe I need to buy some, because my skin doesn't have any reaction to cheap jewellery. I could literally cover my body in pennies. Oh, I just remembered. I have to confess something. Back in the day, I made an impulse purchase, and you remember all those monthly subscription boxes? Yeah, they got me every time. They're just a big blind box for adults. So I remember ordering Rachel So's Box of Style. This must have been pre-2020. I need to dig out the contents. I swear I still have a beach towel from it lying somewhere around my house. My favourite qualities that Rachel brings to the show are her directness. I love how she's just laying it all out there with her divorce. This Roger fellow sounds like an insecure nightmare, and I'm glad that this diva can be free. Don't even start me on his wannabe Fergo stylist girlfriend. Did anyone see that young girlfriend's post trying to clap back at Rachel? Sorry, I don't think she's that young. I think me and her are probably the same age. But she seems like a dork, and I will physically fight anyone who makes Caius or Skylar uncomfortable. They're the loveliest little boys I've seen on Bravo since Phaedra's Sons. You can just tell that she's an excellent mum, and these children seem way better adjusted than I am as an adult. I feel like either of them are qualified enough to be my therapist. I'll sit in Rachel's well-lit kitchen while these children sip espresso and give me excellent life advice. Caius is doing better with his skincare routine than me. Alrighty, our other new housewife this year is Amanda Francis, the money queen. As a millennial, I don't think that we should be held accountable for Amanda. I do not recognize her as my kin. Now, I don't think she's a complete devil spawn like some people do. She's not a totally bad egg, but I just wouldn't leave my credit card lying alone around her. I just can't tolerate someone with zero sense of humor. She's just dry and such a boring person. The only interesting thing is watching how other people react to her. I don't find anything in her life aspirational apart from the fact that she gets free facials a month. I've never had a facial and I would love to have better skin. I've started double cleansing to help improve my pores. Thank you, Reddit. But Amanda does have good skin. I'll have to do some research on facials. With Amanda, there's just so many weird things that don't add up to me. This is harsh, but I just don't give that marriage more than 5 years, and I think that's generous. Hearing the story of how that man chased her down the street in West Hollywood when he's newly separated with 2 very young children, and the way that she talks to him, and the way he looks at her with disdain, I'm not feeling the love. That relationship is a ticking time bomb. She also has some cult weirdness, and it is criminal that she couldn't even make that sound interesting. And like Erica, I'm obsessed with cults. Probably my favorite true crime category. I just don't buy anything this woman is saying. One of her biggest fights this season was with Dorit, with it all coming to a head at the luncheon on the anniversary of Amanda's son's passing. You know, I don't want to get into that specifically too much. Obviously, it's a complete tragedy. And for all her faults, I don't think Dorit was unsympathetic to that. She's just very out of touch with reality, and she needed to shut up as soon as she heard that. This whole thing was just a complete mess, but I do really respect Amanda for actually showing up to Dorit's book launch event despite their disagreements. Oh, I completely forgot to mention that previously. It is fucked up that Kyle, Sutton, and Erica didn't show up to that event. It really made them look like shitheads. Kyle is a hater, Sutton is a follower, and I'm most angry with Erica for this. To not even let her know and to show such little remorse. If someone stood behind you and defended you when you were buying latex outfits with the money stolen from widows and orphans, then you can at least do a drive-by to some bullshit book cover launch party. Anyway, sorry, back to Amanda, and I will say that her biggest storyline was her career with her new age Ponzi scheme business. It is critically important to Amanda that everyone knows how busy and important she is, and that she can just not stop working for 1 second. It's really reminded me of Mia in Potomac shuffling around those brochures at that chiropractor's office. The thing that aggravates me the most with her is when she talks about her degrees in therapy or counselling. It's great that she has them, but she needs to stop talking like she is a licensed therapist. She was really pissing me off when she was doing armchair diagnosis without any experience, especially for children that she hasn't even met. The hubris of this woman. I have seen a lot of charlatans over the years while watching reality TV, and I could better accept her scamming if she was at least interesting, or funny, or well-dressed. Truly, she is wearing some of the worst outfits I've seen on this show. Sutton seeing this woman walk into a party can breathe a sigh of relief because nothing Amanda wore was as tasteful as Sutton's cat sweater. I just want to take a moment to say to all of the Amandas of the world, my thoughts and prayers are with you. This is a hard time, and the reputation of your name is getting destroyed on Bravo between this con artist, Amanda on Summer House, and that sociopath Amanda Cronin on Real Housewives of London. I really hope that one of my teen icons, Amanda Bynes, can have a comeback and do some rehab for that name. So that covers all the main housewives this year, but we still have 2.5 friend-ofs to discuss. First up, Mrs. Hunky-Dory herself, Kathy Hilton. So I need to know where the relationship currently stands with the sisters. I'm obsessed with the Richards sisters. Are her and Kyle still good with all of this recent news of the lawsuit between Kyle and Kim? These sisters have really been through the ringer, and it's dark. I've read that book, House of Hilton. Okay, this may sound harsh, but does anyone think that Kathy actually likes Kyle? I kind of think she tolerates her as part of the show, and is sometimes strong-armed by Kyle into backing her up. I just don't feel any warmth between them. It's a bizarre dynamic. The last time I've seen something like this is when the Fultaggio brothers were competing against each other on Top Chef. Those brothers seem a lot closer now, but they acted like complete strangers in Top Chef Las Vegas. At times, it does seem like she prefers Dorit to her sister, or at least hates her a bit less. Kathy's big event this season was that garden party launch for Nikki Hilton's hideous jewelry line. There's a reason why Paris is the star of that family. For Stars Are Blind alone, that song is on every playlist I've ever created. I want to play during my wake. Anyway, that jewelry was clunky and tacky, and sadly it is somewhat reasonably priced, but I wouldn't buy any of it. Probably still overpriced if I looked into some more specifics on the metal quality. Next up, my shining star this season, giving a breath of fresh air and in the perfect position as friend of Miss Jennifer Tilly. She is giving the lifestyle that we want to see in this show. I feel like we're given the perfect dosage of her. I think with too much exposure, her perkiness might grate a little bit, but it's amazing to see someone in this city who is genuinely funny and brings so much light into the show. I wouldn't mind getting a bit more insight into her life, just a glimpse of that boyfriend who wears socks with slides. As a horror movie girly, I will eternally love this woman for her role as Tiffany in the Chucky franchise. And she throws parties I would actually enjoy attending, like that naked art party. She lives her life out loud and she is always looking for a cocktail. I wonder if it pisses Sutton off how openly Jennifer can drink and enjoy her cocktails. Because Sutton, at least on camera, is doing some weird Bravo sobriety thing due to everyone calling her out previously for slamming the vodkas down. So now she's Bravo sober, which means you don't drink spirits, but you can have wine or beer. You might remember that Craig from Southern Charm was doing that for a while when he was dating Paige. So she must really get pissed off how nobody is even commenting on Jennifer's drinking. Honestly, I really just can't comprehend the relationship with Sutton and Tilly. This is a genuine friendship of, I think, 18 years. I guess the opposites attract, but I feel like she really brings Tilly down. I hated seeing Sutton scold her. Jennifer just seems like such a genuine person, and I didn't like seeing Kyle try to undermine her and make her seem like a shitty friend. Oh, and then in the after show, Sutton was just really playing into her favorite role of victim and manipulating Jennifer into having to sputter out an apology. I need them to stop thinking of her as an easy target because she's so sweet. Sutton and Kyle like to remind everyone of how their financial situation is better than Dorit's and that they have the big wallets. Well, Tilly could crush you both like bugs. I'm telling you that the agency is a house of cards that is waiting to fall. There will be an expose. I can guarantee it. Our final half of a friend is a woman I at times completely forgot was there. Natalie. And I was actually really interested in her when she joined. I wanted to know all about her previous marriage to Simon Fuller. I recently had a breakdown and decided to rewatch an old American Idol season from 2005. I have a podcast episode coming out on it soon, but she spilled no interesting tidbits on that relationship, and I'm sure that's motivated by her wanting to make sure that she gets a good cut in that divorce. She might end up the richest of all these women. That's Spice Girl money. What is there to even say about her? She got confused in some stupid argument about a mask. She got a happy ending in a massage, and she can do the splits. God bless her. Okay, I would like to touch upon the cast trips for the season. So the first one was to Sedona, and it gets off to a pretty rough start when Dorit shows up an hour and a half late for the private jet. This is ridiculous behavior. She didn't even call or text anyone to let them know. It's unclear, but I'm assuming she delayed the flight departure by at least an hour. I would have turned into Meredith Marks in that plane. Dorit would not know peace. So she shows up drinking a can of Prime. Something about me, I am an energy drink connoisseur, which I'm trying to cut back on because apparently it gives you colon cancer. But I consider myself an elder statesman, so I'm less interested in these newer brands like Prime, although I will occasionally drink a Celsius because they are insane and contain 200 milligrams of caffeine. They make me feel like I can kick through a wall. But my point is, I'm a Monster girl and Dorit needs to fuck off with her Prime. If she had drank some Monster that morning, then she would have made it on time. I do think that Sutton did try her best to lay out some Southern hospitality. She made it nice with some welcome gifts and their accommodation looked lovely. But this trip seemed like hell. That hike, oh my god, kill me. I do not thrive in heat and I haven't even started menopause yet. So when that comes, I would basically be dead. But these women are sitting outside to have dinner in 32 degrees Celsius heat. I would say that the biggest atrocity committed by Sutton this season was the delay in her cooking that chicken for dinner. these Beverly Hills women shouldn't be cooking. We learned that when we saw Adrienne Maloof try to wash a chicken with dish soap. Then they don't get to eat until after 11 p.m. I would have mauled Sutton like a bear. I like dinner at 5 p.m. and the one thing I will agree with Amanda on is that protein is the main dish. Okay, I need to move on to the big trip this season, which was to Italy. And quite frankly, they don't deserve it. I think that there should be a merit-based system and Bravo should assess how well they performed the season before deciding on the cast trip destination. If they are delivering a stellar season, they can go to Italy. And if not, they can go to that house Angel found in Potomac where there was no running water. These women did not earn Italy. I must confess, I love it when I have to hear Dorit speak her Italian and watch the natives reply in English. I'm obsessed with the housewives thinking they're children of the world. I really miss hearing Luann try to speak French. You know what? I actually respect Dorit for actually trying in another country. For a lot of these women, they may as well still be in LA. They go halfway across the world to buy the same shit from Dolce & Gabbana that they do in Beverly Hills. One thing that I did actually appreciate about this season is that they didn't close it on a trip. I am not loving that trend across the Housewives franchises, but I could have done without it ending at Kathy's jewelry party. I need a reappearance of the white parties. If you're not even bringing that, Kyle, then why are you still here? Now, I would be remiss if I didn't just quickly touch upon the fashion of the season. I would estimate that at least 25% of the dialogue of the show is about what they're wearing. And there's only 3 people worth mentioning. First, Dorit, who should only ever wear suits. That woman was born for power dressing. She is my Melanie Griffith in Working Girl without the gainful employment. Second is Rachel So. I love everything she wears and she always looks so stylish. She has such a strong fashion identity with the 1970s boho chic stuff. I like that she doesn't really deviate away from that for trends. Although I do wonder if I think everything looks great in her and so chic because she is so thin. Everything just hangs perfectly on her. She's a clothes hanger. On me, it would look like a muumuu or a lumpy potato sack. Finally, Jennifer Tilly. What a feast for the eyes. This woman is not just throwing on any items with a designer name stuck on the front. She is collectibles. This is art, and she is not afraid to make a bold choice. We need to have fashion moments like her hand-beaded Balmain reunion dress with her face on it. The fashion on the show is not relatable or affordable to the average viewer, and I'm not mad about it. Their wealth, real or fictionalized, is a big part of this show. But I spend so much time looking on this amazing website called Big Blonde Hair, where this lady tells you where you can purchase the clothes seen across these shows. There's something meditative about having to scroll through there, and the only time I've ever been close to purchasing a Real Housewives outfit is an Adidas tracksuit that Erica wore on a previous season. I've always been a big fan of Erica's tracksuit work, so was very saddened by the lack of them this year. Bring them back. Moving on, this season has been my very first time watching the after show, and how do I get the job of that young British man who asks them questions? To him, all I have to say is thank you for your service and representing the UK on this international stage. This is my Olympics. Now, I need to talk about the after show pairings. This is why I'm convinced that Kyle is on her way out or being downgraded. They have lumbered her with Amanda. Eric is with Rachel, Bose is with Dorit, and we get the trio of Sutton, Kathy, and Tilly. And I really like seeing Kathy separated from Kyle because she goes off the script that Kyle tries to lay out for her. We also do occasionally see some different groups in the after show, with group 1 being Kyle, Erica, and Sutton, group 2 is Bose, Dorit, and Rachel, and group 3 is Kathy, Tilly, and Natalie. When they do this, they make Amanda give her thoughts on her own. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get another season of her. She's cooked. So I know for many people, the reunions are the highlight of any season. There are some people who even skip all of the main episodes and just watch the reunions. Which, to be fair, that probably does give you a decent overview of everything important. But for me, the reunion episodes, at times, give me crippling anxiety. And I'm typically fine with arguments in these shows. I have become so desensitized, and I'm almost soothed by women screaming. I like to listen to old episodes when I'm sleeping, because them screaming is my siren song. But I just find the reunions to be constant tension and conflict with very little reprieve. It takes me so long to get through each episode because I have to pause every 10 minutes to take a quick breath and recover. God, I'm such a wimp like Amanda. So the first reunion episode was pretty dry and ended up being a pile-on with everyone against Amanda. Frankly, this wasn't entertaining. She is just such low-hanging fruit and was easily taken down by Erica, Rachel, and Bose. We do get some back and forth with Kyle and Dorit, and honestly, for all her long-windedness, I think Dorit owned her, at least in this part. If the roles were reversed, Kyle would not appreciate Dorit backing up Maurice. And Kyle can't have it both ways. If she doesn't consider Dorit a friend, then maybe she needs to stop saying that her stirring all this shit about Dorit being erratic is under the guise of concern and friendship. She's just not as good of a puppet master as Lisa Vanderpump was. And with these reunions, we really could have scaled back to 2 parts. And I'm being generous with that. Like, this could have been 1 episode. So in the second part, we see more Amanda hate, which is so boring that her segment is taken over by another Kyle and Dorit fight. Basically, this boils down to Kyle thinking that she has been a good friend to Dorit since the start. Fair. I mean, I wouldn't be able to defend the Lucy Apple Juicy situation, but this friendship is dead. It's over, and I don't see how it can recover. Now that they don't have the mutual enemy of Lisa Vanderpump to unite them, they need to move on from each other. Dorit needs to stop expecting Kyle to have her back, and Kyle needs to admit that she hates her and prefers PK. Oh my god, throughout these reunions, it is so obvious how much Andy hates Dorit. Now, to be fair to him, I don't think I could listen to her unedited ramblings, but I love how Dorit has no issue antagonizing and disagreeing with him. Andy does have his favourites, so I appreciate when someone isn't kissing the ring all the time. I feel like we really did get to the heart of the matter on this Erica-Dorit fallout, and I finally understand why Erica was so hurt. I do think it was bullshit when Dorit said that Bose has been the most supportive to her throughout the divorce. Now, that's fair to say that she is more supportive than Kyle, who is basically the opposition. But honestly, I feel like the only 2 people in this current group of women with a true, genuine friendship outside of filming, apart from Sutton and Tilly obviously, are Erica and Dorit. Because to everyone else, this is a job and these are your co-workers. I just know that Kyle and Bose have their real circle of friends and an actual separate life when they're not filming. I don't get the feeling that Erica or Dorit find it particularly easy to make friends, so I actually hope that they can work things out. Okay, so my last point on part 2 is on Kathy. And is anyone buying her silly Kathy persona? Sometimes it feels forced to me. Like when she was answering the phone, or the whole thing about getting tricked into an AI Jell-O diet. Although, is that Oprah-approved pink Himalayan salt weight loss thing real? Because my mom is always telling me about that. Oh, we also saw Andy be really weird and give a shady look to Bose when she was explaining her work as a chief marketing officer and how they often can be short-term positions. I did enjoy seeing her school him about this on Instagram. He had it coming. Then we close out with the unnecessary 3rd part of this reunion, and this was just toxic, and we're just running in circles. Now, this 3rd part had a lot of rehashing over things that we've already covered between Dorit and Erica, with Erica playing the tone police despite her having a history of speaking to people and children on this show in a crazy way. Also, some more of the boring fight between Amanda and Bose. One of the biggest points of contention is on whether Kyle has the power to get people fired. And in my opinion, she can't necessarily get people booted outright, but I do think that she gets a lot of preferential treatment and is close to production. There's just zero resolution here, and I don't think we can go into another season with these dynamics. I just can't tolerate another season of watching these feuds and having to listen to more discussions on their separations and divorces. We need to keep things moving. Now, I've already made it clear that I'm in too deep with this show, and we'll be watching every frame next season, regardless of them making any changes. But they really should make some updates, and there's several things that I'd like to see happen. In terms of cast cuts, I don't think we need another season of Amanda. I feel like she's given us all that she can, and she's kind of a fun sponge. She sucks the joy out of every room that she's in. I've seen enough. Then, I think we really need to get rid of Kyle. Or downgrade her at least to a friend of. I don't know if I'm being delusional, but I really think this could be the end of Kyle's tenure on the show. They made a big hurrah at the reunion for her being in all 15 seasons, which makes her the longest running consecutive housewife in Bravo history. Oh god, somewhere out there, Vicky is screaming into the towel that's covering her head. In my opinion, Kyle is adding so little to the show, and the minion environment she's created as the top dog is making things quite stale. Now, Andy is enamored with her and is living up her ass, so I don't know whether he'd actually let her go, but I just have this gut feeling that she could be taking a step back. Her stranglehold on this show seems weaker, and I feel like the twilight years are here. So, onto who I'd keep, and I reckon we should give Dorit another season. I want to see her dating, but if it's going to be the same shit again with the divorce, then she can go. We can also give at least one more season to Sutton, Bose, and Rachel, with Tilly staying on as a friend of. And I would like to see Kathy without Kyle. I also think that we need to keep Erica, and let me elaborate on this. I am a huge fan of watching or reading anything to do with the mob and the mafia. Maybe that's why I'm loving Real Housewives of Rhode Island so much, but they often say that it's safer for society to have one family in power with a strong leader, because once they're gone, there's a power vacuum at the top and anarchy ensues. And I worry that if we cut both Kyle and Erica at the same time, Dorit might become too powerful, and I don't want to see that. We need to keep Erica as a counterbalance. But Andy and production need to sit her down and threaten her with a downgrade to friend of if she doesn't share more of her life with that gross boyfriend and legal drama. Actually, I've just had an idea. With the Marco case and Dorit's foreclosure, can we get them two sharing an apartment? Stick them in Sandoval and Ariana's old place in West Hollywood where the microwave turns off the AC. Now, I don't want Phoenix and Jagger to be subjected to that, so during filming, they can be left in the custody of Dorit's parents in Palm Springs. We also need to get some fresh blood in here, and I don't know if this is realistic, but I want them to try and add Nicole Richie. There's already the Rachel Xoe connection, and I loved her reality show Candidly Nicole. She's just so funny, and we desperately need some humor in this show. And she'd give us some lifestyle porn. I really want to see what her sister-in-law relationship is like with Cameron Diaz. I'd also be interested if anyone in Bose's circle of friends would be a good match for the show. You know who I don't need to come back? Lisa Rinna. Traitors was enough, and I can't stand that woman. She's never been for me, and while she's gone, maybe this is the time to get Nicolette Sheridan. I feel like she could be a real brawler. Maybe like a less intense Brandy Glanville without the face parasite. Now, I don't know how many changes they're going to implement for the show, because when I was looking at how it performed rating-wise and how that compares to other Bravo shows, things are looking very good for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Now, I watch an unhealthy amount of programming on this channel. The only shows I don't watch are the Below Decks. Some seasons I have forced myself to sit through because I love Kate Chastain so much. But they just make me feel a little unwell. I'm not a boat girl, and I get so claustrophobic and freaked out looking at their little cabins. I've tried my best to get past that, but I can't. But currently, I would say that Bravo is on a real high. This season of Beverly Hills may be the weakest thing that's aired this year. It just can't compete with Atlanta or Southern Hospitality or the new shows Ladies of London and Real Housewives of Rhode Island. So that's why I'm curious if Bravo will take on board the fan feedback for the season, because they're probably not incentivized to do it because it is such a solid audience. The casuals love this show. There's few shows on this network that are outperforming it. It looks like the only show with larger viewership, when taking into consideration live viewership and streaming figures, are Salt Lake City and Below Deck Med. Okay, that wraps up season 15 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I would actually really love to do a retrospective on some of the earlier seasons if I rewatch them. I promise they would be a lot more positive than this and a little bit less depressing. But I will be back on Friday with another episode, which will be covering the final week of season 13 of Married at First Sight Australia. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you liked what you heard here, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, and considering leaving a review on Apple Podcast. It really helps new people find it. You can also find me on Instagram at PopMonsterPod, and please DM me if you have any ideas for things you'd like me to cover in future episodes. Again, thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.